My name is Melissa with the Pink Report, and I'm over here at George Floyd Square in South Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I have Grace here who we're going to be talking to about what her thoughts are and how she's feeling regarding the Derek Chauvin's trial. So, what are you doing here today?
Today I'm here honestly for two reasons. I have a friend who recently passed. She took her life. She was an activist in the community, so there's actually a vigil also later tonight. So I'm here for that, but it's wild because since last week I felt compelled to come, and I've just felt like I haven't had time. I went to therapy this week. Actually, I met with my therapist and I talked about my feelings about wanting to come, and she said that I should because it's healing. There's something in me, deep in me, that is calling out to come here.
Why did you choose not to watch the trial?
I chose not to watch the trial because it honestly felt like I was subjecting myself to more trauma porn, for lack of better language. It's very emotional. It's very raw. And I don't need to continue to relive it. I was here. We all lived it. We're still living it. And I don't need to subject myself to it. My mental health really deteriorated last year, and I am trying to take care of myself while also taking care of my community, just in other ways than last year.
So I'm sitting here next to Tasha, and she came all the way from New York to come visit and pay homage to George Floyd. So tell me, who did you come with today?
My daughter and my best friend and my niece and my granddaughter.
And you heard obviously about the trial that's happening. How has this affected you and your family, especially being weighed out in New York?
Whew, Jesus. I can go on for days, but it affects us a lot because it's a lot going on and it's not fair to our youth. I have black sons, and I worry about them every day. They're teenagers. One is a young adult.
So what do you think of the prosecution even mentioning the things of his drug use and making that being the reason why he died in the first place?
It's not relevant. Like, to dig into a person's past, everybody changes. If you don't know that person, of course they're going to try and make him look bad because he's a black guy, They always try to make the black people look bad, but all black people aren't bad.
So tell me, how have you been maintaining your mental peace?
I stay to myself. I just stay to myself. You can't be too careful nowadays.
So I'm standing here with Elul, and we're talking here in Minneapolis on the South Side about George Floyd, the trial, and mental health. So now that we have to replay his death during the trial, how are you keeping yourself safe?
I go to therapy, which I suggest everybody does, especially black people. I have a therapist. I have an amazing therapist that I've had for about a year now. She understands. I just yell and cry sometimes. Therapy is the best way. I talk to my family, and since they're all black, they understand what I'm going through. My friends are also a good help to keep me sane in a way. I try not to watch the trial as much just because can I swear? It messes with my head, my mental health. So I go out. I'm outside rather than watching the trial.
Hi, welcome to the Pink Report. I'm sitting here with Misha. She is our mental health specialist, and she's been in the industry for 13 years. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, and you right now, what you're doing is you do crisis trauma?
Yeah, crisis trauma therapy, and then I also am the curator for healing circles in the community, workshops on self-love and healing, and then I curate space for sacred dialogue to talk about the tough stuff that we see in our community.
Okay.
Childhood trauma, injustices, obviously, especially in Minneapolis. And so
now,
it's my area.
Okay, good. Now that's why you're here, because we're talking about the trial. The trial is probably going to be wrapping up here pretty shortly. And I wanted to bring you on so that we could begin to, inform the community on how to properly digest the information they're watching, right? So, I was having a conversation with you a few days ago, and we were talking about, slavery and how that trauma, is 400 plus years that we're experiencing trauma, right?
Right.
And it's even more trauma watching the trial. How can they begin, the community, the culture, how can we begin to heal as we watch this?
Well, we have to hold pain and healing collectively and together at the same time. And so that's what we have to always remember.
What do you mean by that, though?
And what I mean by that is we have 400 plus years, as you already mentioned, of trauma in our DNA. So when we are watching the trial, our body naturally keeps the score, and so we are already being re-traumatized. And so we have to be cognizant of, and we have to be radical and unapologetic that we want to get in our healing bodies and no longer in our pain bodies. So what we have to say is, you know what? I want to heal, and how healing looks for me may look different than my white counterparts.
Right.
I love therapy. Obviously, I'm a therapist by trade, but we also heal in different other healing modalities. Healing circles.
Right.
We might do drumming. We might do some type of journal or creative writing class. We might go and do yoga.
So, what does that look like for the introvert who only wants to heal by themselves?
So I think when they are introverted, it's imperative that it looks very different than an extroverted person. It's easier for an extroverted person to get to their healing. Somebody that's introverted wants to stay in solitude, but what they have to realize, solitude is phenomenal as well. You can be in solitude, but that looks like meditation. That looks like, if you are watching the trial, if you're triggered, re-traumatized, then it is okay to turn it off. That doesn't mean that you're not for the people. That just means that you are your self-care is what's important. You must fill your cup.
Recently, like I was, on social media where, there have been, many people who were saying they weren't going to be watching the trial. And they were attacked for that. Like, why aren't you watching the trial? You're supposed to, do you not care about your people? So I think that's very important that you say that it is okay to turn off the TV. It is okay to shut off your phone.
And the reason why I say that, this ain't the first time that we've seen this. We have Eric Garner, we have Philando Castile, we have Jamar Clark, we have Sandra Bland. We have all these different people. Breonna Taylor. We have all these different black bodies that have been executed, and we don't want to see it all the time. The body keeps the score. And so we become to be hypervigilant again. We might have more anxiety again. We might have more depression because it's already in our DNA. It's already in us. And so if I need to take a break from the trial, absolutely. Your self-care is first and foremost. We can't do the community work. We can't show up for our children. We can't show up for our community if we don't first take care of self. And if that means I need to disconnect for a little bit, not forever, but if I need to disconnect a little bit, that is okay.
So then what does it look like for a person that maybe when it's time to turn the TV back on, what can they do then? Like, how does a person who is healing reconnect?
So this is my thing. Everything first starts with the breath. See how your body doing. Is your face all scrunched up? Are you tensed? If you are not connected to your body, you probably shouldn't turn that back on because you're going to tense up more. You're going to be
I like that.
in your pain body even more. So first, do some type of self-care, some type of relaxation. But when you are trying to bring your body back to center and you are trying to be grounded, you want something that's going to be filling your cup.
Yeah.
Janae Aiko has a protection mantra. I used to wake up every day when the pandemic first started and listen to that. Because it has singing bowls, it has those different frequencies in it that are healing to the body, to our cells, to our DNA. And so we just have to look at healing differently. It isn't just the yoga and the meditation. It's how can we get the trauma out of the body and into the universe and away from us.
You know, recently I was, talking to a friend, and then he was mentioning once you find the happiness, like once you find a good spot that you feel good about yourself, you have to build a relationship with it. And once you build a relationship with the feeling of happiness, then that's how you, like if you are experiencing either bad days, if you're experiencing the trauma, then you have a relationship with that happiness and you can always find it.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was really important. So I think even during this time, with everything that you've mentioned, making sure that people build a relationship with the happiness that they're finding within themselves.
A lot of times with happiness, it takes work. To be in your joy, to be in your happy, to be in your healing takes work. To be in pain, to be depressed and anxious, we know that. That's easy. I can stay here and I can let my bed be a bully if I choose to. But to choose to be happy takes work. That's the heavy lifting. I have to wake up every day and fill my cup and say my affirmations, however that looks like for me. And I have to work to be happy.
So for the community, because right now, again, like we're going to be looking at, the trial ending pretty soon.
Yep.
What can we do individually, but also what can we begin to do with our personal communities, the people that are around us, and even our external communities? What can we begin to do with them to heal?
So I live a life of service. Being in service fills me up. So helping my community with doing a healing circle, going to a drumming circle, going to 30th in Chicago, and how can I support you? Oh, we need food down here for the people. Okay, let's order some DoorDash and get some food down here for the folks. Or cash apping a community member or somebody that's on the front line that's doing the work and the heavy lifting and saying, hey, I'm gonna cash up you some money so you can get some water and some food for the folks that are out there. So outside of just doing that, you can also, if you want to donate time to help other community organizations that are doing other things in the community that are around healing the community. So it's not only just giving, a monetary donation, you can also give your time.
So regarding the trial, what have some of the community members been reaching out to you for?
So I'm hearing a lot of them being very upset about being triggered by what they're hearing. Unfortunately, drug addiction has been a big thing. But the
drug addiction regarding George Floyd.
Yeah,
because
brother George Floyd.
Yes.
They're trying to bring up his drug addiction. But if we are honest and factual, he said 6 times he could not breathe, and they were on his neck for 9 minutes. And they are first responders, and they could have provided aid to brother George Floyd.
Could have or should have? Like that was their job.
Should have. That's why excessive force is what people are screaming. This was excessive force. I mean, the man had his hands in his pocket.
Yeah.
And it was 4 individuals, don't quote me, but there were 4 individuals, I believe, on him. And 2 walking around trying to, get the crowd to stay in line. But let's call it what it is. You were on that man's neck for 9 minutes. And you did not provide aid, with him even saying 6 times that he could not breathe. And people watched that. That is traumatizing. And so it is imperative that we call it what it is. We are traumatizing and we are having a trauma response. And that's why the aftermath and what took place in our city took place.
So I want you to talk to the community and let them know where can they begin to channel their energy right? Whether they are an extrovert or an introvert, whether they have personal communities or communities that are bigger than 5 people, where they can actually go to a certain place and congregate with many people. I want you to begin to tell them how they can heal and do that in the proper way, because you come from a crisis background.
So, first of all, speaking, getting it out into, it's not being in a non-judgmental environment where you can say what you need to say without anybody judging you. That is imperative. The suffering in silence, replaying the trauma in your head, creating that narrative, staying in your mind, is not doing you, that's doing you a disservice. Solitude is okay. I think solitude can be very recharging at times, but you also need community. You also need to be around other folks that have been affected just like you. Moving your body. Don't let it stay in your body. Whether it's through yoga, dance, boxing, going to a smash room. Like, we have to get those emotions out of our bodies, because when we do not and stay stagnant, that's when people are battling with so much depression and anxiety. Black and brown bodies are dying at astronomical rates of suicide right now.
And isn't that what, staying in your trauma body, isn't that what that means when you're not releasing the energy?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then what you find yourself doing, addiction, risky behavior, projecting whatever your trauma is onto other folks, obesity, heart disease, everything as far as dis-ease first starts with the emotional distress. And what the body does, the body keeps it stored, it manifests, it festers, and it turns into dis-ease. And so that's how you have your heart disease, your diabetes,
Right.
high cholesterol, obesity, cancers, because we first let it stay in our bodies.
Right.
I remember it so vividly. It was in my room, and I just heard, I think I saw it trending on Twitter, and I was like, oh, a man got killed in Minneapolis. And I was like, I go to school down a couple blocks, actually, and I was like, I drive by here a lot, and I didn't think it was that bad, quote unquote. But then I saw the video, and I just started crying. I was like, this could have been my cousin, my uncle, my dad. So, like, I was in my room just bawling my eyes out. So, yeah,